and welcome to this Nimbus podcast. My name is Mike Gamage, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Michael Krigsman, who's CEO of Asuret, a consulting firm based in Boston.
Hey, Mike, it's great to be here.
Michael's a well-known columnist, and he's a thought leader on enterprise software on ZDNet. He's a prolific and highly successful blogger and a photographer. But his day job is as CEO of Asuret, which is dedicated to reducing IT implementation failures. And Michael has earned a reputation as an expert on the causes and prevention of IT project failures and is frequently quoted in the press. So, Michael, can we start, please, with some background and some context? Tell us a little bit about Asuret.
Sure, Mike, thanks so much. Well, we know that the incidence of IT failures, meaning projects that are late, that are over budget, that don't meet their planned objectives, runs, depending on the statistics you look at, between 30 and 70% of all projects. That's a staggering number, and the amount of money that is wasted is just simply enormous. So Asuret believes that by taking measurements through the life of a project, looking at the various conflicting expectations and perceptions in and among the stakeholders, we can actually gather real data that can help us make decisions so that through the life of the project, we can take the course that will lead us to success rather than to failure.
This problem of IT project failure, is it confined to particular industries, particular geographies? What would be the characteristics of organizations that suffer most from this?
My research has shown that failures are not confined to any particular industry. It's not confined to any geography. I mean, you see failures happening in the developed world, in the undeveloped world, in North America, in Europe, in the Pacific region. So I don't think that it's a function of industry. I think it's a function of the way that projects are implemented and the nature of projects, which involve multiple stakeholder groups. And anytime you've got different groups working together, which is to say you've got IT, you have the lines of business, you have external service providers, hardware and software. You've got varying measures and goals and measures of success and different goals and different objectives. And fitting all these together into a tight-knit package that works is very difficult.
As you know, at Nimbus, we and our clients see process visibility and understanding as crucial to this whole thing. We have this vision of an enterprise-wide collaborative framework for managing performance improvement and implementation projects and so on. That's all within the language of end-to-end business processes. There are obviously many reasons for project failures. So how important, in your view, is process as a contributory cause to project failure?
Well, I think having good processes is a foundation for any business project. And we tend to think of technology projects, of IT projects, as somehow being distinct or separate from other business initiatives and business investments. In fact, I think the better way to look at it is that IT projects are just another type of technology-enabled business initiative. You mentioned the word collaboration, and I think that collaboration and communication, in fact, are fundamental. So if you have solid processes and you have communication and you have collaboration and you're able to rectify these various and diverse points of view among the stakeholders that I mentioned before, then I think the likely outcome of the project is more going to be in the direction of success rather than failure.
Why is it that it's not apparent to those involved in these situations that process visibility, communication, collaboration, it's not rocket science? Why is it that it's so commonly disregarded or marginalized and lies at the root of this failure?
Again, you're asking a great question, and I wonder about this as well. I think there's two things that happen. Number one is at the beginning of a project, we all have hopes and dreams, and we think that our project is going to be great. We've invested all of this money, and we've selected the vendor who's going to save us. And so I think that there's a certain kind of denial that takes place at the start of a project. The second issue is these these issues of alignment and perception and so forth, these are very difficult to measure. And so it's much easier to simply throw money at the problem and hope you can solve it, hope you can do your implementation, rather than worrying about these soft things.
I'm just thinking of the classic, the business IT divide, and it's been one of the themes of your blog posts and so on, and indeed the extraordinary costs that you've estimated of IT failure, a lot of it to do with, or linked to anyway, to this non-communication. I mean, what we're seeing is that clients want a stereo view of the business. They recognize that business and IT have got necessarily different perspectives, but they need to be reconciled in one, there's only one operational reality, and these two perspectives need to be different views on ultimately the same model of the business. I'm just wondering how often you're finding that in terms of the clients and projects that you're looking at and so on, and whether that is perhaps a characteristic of clients who are more successful, where project risks failure risks are reduced.
Yeah, sure. That makes good sense, because any organization where IT and the business are actually working together in lockstep, or that have a stereo view, as you called it, I think by definition that is going to lead to clearer communication and to a better common definition of success among the various parties, which is ultimately, I think, what's needed in order to align the outcomes and the goals. So if my goal for the project is in conflict with your goal, then that's a recipe for failure.
Looking ahead, Michael, obviously there's lots of things happening out there in the marketplace, and your recent blogs in terms of the impact of cloud of an enterprise software have made interesting reading. I mean, looking at cloud, mobile, and social, are these things going to make IT project failures less likely or more likely?
Anything that simplifies a project, that increases communication, that aligns goals and aligns incentives has to be good.
Michael, just if I can, just round up this very interesting discussion, and I wish we could have longer. I know you do talk frequently with CIOs. If you have one tip to share with the CIO, what would it be?
Work with the business. Be on the same page with the business. I've been recently writing about something I call feel-good mojo, just kind of a funny term, but what it really means is delight. And so if a CIO can find a way to delight the business, that's a great step in the right direction. That's huge.
Absolutely. I love the term, the feel-good mojo. That's fantastic, Michael. Thank you very much for taking the time to share your thoughts with us today.
Thank you.